The Sony FX3 and FX30 are both marketed as cinema cameras that don't need a cage because they have a couple extra quarter 20 mounts on them. But after I used my FX30 for a few months, I did notice that I really needed a little bit more customization out of it. And so I decided to get this SmallRig 4183 cage. This is a full cage that has removable NATO top rail, and it also has an HDMI clamp, a built-in Arca quick release on the bottom, a lot of great features that allow you to fully rig out your FX3 or your FX30. The cage allows you to do things like put a side handle on it, use different top handles besides the built-in audio top handle, as well as mounting camera monitors, follow focuses, and a ton of other different accessories. The top rail is fully removable, so if you want to keep using your audio top handle, you can, or if you want to take the top handle off and use the NATO top handle, or use an Aries style top handle, that plate is going to work perfect for you. This cage uses 3 screws to connect it to your camera. You get one on the left, one on the right, and one on the bottom, and then you have tons of quarter 20 mounting spots, as well as a couple NATO rails that you can use to attach your accessories. One thing I don't really like about this cage is it uses flathead screws to attach all the different parts. I wish that they had used hex screws instead, because you can get better leverage using an Allen wrench than you can with a flat screwdriver. It also comes with this little magnetic tool that goes on the bottom of the cage. Unfortunately, I lost mine, but you can buy more of them online. They're just $5 and you get a couple of them. This cage has a lot of different features, so let's try to hit all of them. First and foremost, you do get a built-in Arca quick release plate on the bottom, so that's really nice for using it with a gimbal or other compatible tripod heads. There's also a hinge for the battery door that allows you to move it out of the way and to access your battery door. And there's a slot in the bottom of the cage as well, so if you're using a dummy battery, the power cord can come out that way. Also on the bottom, we get plenty of quarter 20 threads and a 3/8 inch thread for mounting a tripod plate. On the right side of the cage, you get several quarter 20 mounts, no 3/8 inch mounts though, but you can put a variety of different right side handles on this cage. On the left side of the cage, we get a built-in NATO rail, a place to attach the camera clamp, and several other quarter 20 and 3/8 mounting spots as well. I do find you have to be careful with the left side of the cage if you're using the HDMI clamp. It can be a little bit hard to put a handle on the side as well. It just doesn't always give enough clearance for your hand. On the top of the cage, we find an angled cold shoe mount, which is perfect for mounting a wireless microphone out of the way of your top handle. And then on the top, we get a removable NATO rail, so you can choose to use it and attach a NATO top handle, or it also has a 3/8 inch slot as well for a standard top handle. If you want to use the audio recorder handle, you just take this off and then you can slide the audio handle on top. It works just fine. You can also attach a monitor to the top plate as well, either using a NATO clamp or just using a standard Aries style 3/8 mount. There's also several different spots where you can attach a neck strap or a wrist strap. On the left side of the cage, we also have the spot where we put the HDMI clamp. In order to attach it, you do need to make sure it's loose and open up your HDMI door before you attach it. I do find that the HDMI cable clamp gets in the way of the screen when you're using it in selfie mode, but this shouldn't usually be a problem because usually you'll have it plugged into a monitor if you're using the HDMI clamp. I really appreciate that this cage doesn't get in the way of any of the different buttons or lights on the camera. You can see the tally light on the front of your FX3 or FX30 just fine with this, unlike some of the other cages that are out there. The cage is lightweight, but it does add a little bit of heft to your FX3 or FX30, but I found it to be an appropriate amount that in some ways helped me balance the camera a little bit better. And I really like using a solid top handle instead of using the more hollow feeling audio top handle that Sony makes, especially if I'm shooting B-roll or behind the scenes style content and I don't need audio. I do really like the grip on the right side of this cage. It feels a lot better than some of the other SmallRig cages I've used for my A7 IV and A7 III in the past. Unfortunately, this cage does scuff pretty easily like most SmallRig products, so it's going to be hard to keep it looking nice and fresh, but it does kind of get a nice worn in look over time. The 4183 cage comes in at $90, which I feel is pretty expensive for a SmallRig camera cage. Most of the ones I bought in the past have been around $50 or $60. And I think they're charging extra money because it's for the cinema line, and you do get that removable NATO top handle, and you get an HDMI clamp as well. Usually buying each of those accessories will cost you $10 to $20 as well. So in some ways you could say that SmallRig's justified in the $90 price. There's also a bunch of other SmallRig accessories for the FX3 and FX30, like the top handle extender, as well as a plate for the top handle as well. And I wish they could have thrown it all in for the price of $90 instead of making you buy everything separately. There is another handheld version of this kit, but it has a side strap and it gives you those accessories for your built-in audio top handle. I think that costs about $120, so you pay a little bit extra to get that bigger kit. So overall, this is a good cage that gives you a lot of versatility. It adds a little bit of heft and weight to your FX30 or FX3 without making it crazy heavy, and it adds a ton of functionality. If you're interested in buying this cage, I have links in the description below, and if you have any other questions about the SmallRig 4183, Leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them.